Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Dario Betti. I'm the CEO of MF, and it's a pleasure to welcome you here for our traditional Thursday webinar, or whatever day it is on your, if you're watching on demand on our app, on MF Radio, or on our website as well. So thanks for joining us, and thanks for taking the time to talk about one of the key topics that we do have here for you. It touches so many of those things within the ecosystem that did exist 20 years ago, and some of those didn't really make any sense until a few years. And that's mixing, I would say, ad tech, direct carrier billing, and unfortunately fraud. I will be here joined by Smadex, which is, as you probably already know, a platform for mobile growth in itself, a term which is quite new, meaning finding direct response performance, brand advertising campaigns for web, mobile web, and in-app as well. And using contextual targeting, machine learning algorithm as well, to identify some of those audiences and drive some of that traffic to some of those new services out there. Now, that's true for clients in apps, games, brands, and anything else. So a lot of you out there might find and might already be using services from Smadex. But the question is, how do you do that by fighting the industry fraud that is so prevalent right now everywhere, including mobile as well? And here we got the help of MCP Insight, which you might know as a provider of market intelligence and compliance. You might also know as part of their monitor anti-fraud solution, their platforms, MCP Scanner and MCP Shield. So we got two different and joint because they have worked together. And today's topic is really all about their white paper. As a matter of fact, in a few seconds, you will find that we are going to plaster in the emails. You'll find it as well after the email with the links to recorded and so on, the link to a white paper that Smadex and MCP have jointly delivered. But don't start reading that now. Good news. We have two of the major authors of the report as well. That would be Rahima Ouadfel, the VP of Growth from Smadex, and Thomas Tinker, the Head of Account Manager of MCP, talking about that. Let me welcome both of them. Hello, Rahima, and hello, Thomas. How are you?
Hi there. Yep.
Thank you. Well, let me ask first, how have I done in terms of highlighting, at least what your company do? Rahima, you might want to reintroduce yourself and Smadex. How was it?
Yeah, of course. So I think that I can introduce myself, but you did really well introducing Smadex. So I am responsible of the mobile subscription services department here at Smadex. I've been working for the company for the past 5 years now, and in the industry for around 14 years in the mobile advertising industry. And I'm in charge here of defining and executing the strategy for our business unit.
Thanks, thank you. And then Thomas, can you introduce yourself as well?
Yes. So I'm Thomas from MCP. I'm the head of account management. So in other words, I take care of my clients. I do a lot of discussion with them because probably all the discussion today will be for me mainly about this, the collaboration and communication in between company like us and content providers, and agencies, carriers. So I do that mainly in MCP. I just try to talk with everybody.
Well, great. And today we're talking about mobile industry fraud, but I like what is our subtitle, if you want, transparency and brand safety in advertising. Very, very important thing. And when I applied, I should probably mention that, some of the topics, and it is in the report itself, some of the market behind this, the direct carrier billing, are exploring and finding a fantastic growth. I mean, I'll take examples and many others will tell me more, but this is an exciting area which is growing, but we need to know what happens out there. So let's start actually going back on on that thing, be on direct carrier billing. And Thomas, if I may ask you, as an analyst in this case, how do you see direct carrier billing impacting the future of digital transactions, and what's coming next?
Well, for sure, there is no doubt. I believe that the DCB is going to grow. The numbers are saying this very clearly. We are going towards a spend of more than 100 billion by 2026, and it's obviously a very big increase compared to the around 40 billion, I believe, in 2020. Well, first of all, because it simplifies the payment process and can reach those users that do not have a bank account or a credit card, and it's actually more secure. Even if today we're going to talk about a little bit what's going on in terms of fraud, but it's more secure because when it comes to data breaches, the information that the fraudster can access is obviously limited compared to other traditional online payment methods. So overall, DCB is very likely to continue to grow also after 2026. And what MCP is doing, obviously, we will try to do even better what we already do, try to protect the end user and help industry as much as possible to avoid markets shutting down because of too many complaints, fraud, misleading behavior, etc. But also, and I think this is important, we are also working on something new, that is try to predict a little bit more what will happen in a specific market based on experience and data that we have. And we believe that this will help to proactively make decisions that can help markets avoid extreme measure from normally the carriers or the regulators. So this is my view.
So the market is growing, the threats to the market are growing too, but at least you say there are more tools out there, there are more things you can do to protect themselves. Well, let's start talking about some of those quality issues, some of those products. In the past, sometimes we were also referring to, it's not just the problem of the channel, the process is a type of things we are selling via direct carrier billing and so on. Rahima, let's be controversial. Should we provide better quality products and service? Is that what is needed now?
So as a DSP, so a demand-side platform, that is Smadex, we have seen clearly that the quality of the service is very important for the user acquisition strategy. We've seen that obviously the conversion rate, meaning that the user will be engaging with the product and subscribing to the offer, is going to be much higher if the quality of the service is good. So that's very important. And also, I think that it's also important to mention that it's very specific to DSPs or sources such as Google as well, where behind the supply is going to be also more premium, let's say. So the SSPs who are trusted by let's say high-end or premium publishers want to also see quality ads and want to see quality services promoted, and this is very important for them. So in order to be able to get more services that are related to the VAS business, we absolutely need to follow guidelines from the industry. So yes, I agree. I think it's very important. Our job is also here to help the content providers with their landing pages, or with their banners, the design of the banner, the call to action, etc.
Okay, so it sounds like from what you're seeing, it is a question of quality of products. It's a question of the quality of the customer experience that we're seeing right now. There's an expectations for the additional transparency, the additional elements of clarity from what you're getting.
Exactly. Yes, it has to match. Yeah, it has to match with the supply indeed.
Thomas, you talk to carriers as well. And what do you think out of that discussions? What's their approach? on quality and very
I
careful?
think carriers gives a lot of importance on the quality of the products. Not everywhere, but for example, in UK, service are put also on a different rank of risk based on various factors, and one of the most important is the quality of the service. Also, service with poor content are more likely to generate complaints. Normally, consequently, they may lead, to greater possibilities of investigation by the regulator and the possibility of receiving fines, which in UK are normally very high. So to avoid this and create a bad reputation, normally the carriers are less inclined to approve service with poor content. Still, I believe that they should do a little bit more, because at the end of the day, it's them approving the service, and so it's a bit of a mix of what they approve sometimes and what they don't. I think they still try to. They still have to try to push a little bit more to put out there better content. I know it's difficult, because when you invest a lot in content, you can maybe sometimes not invest that much in advertising, and vice versa. So it can create some imbalance in the scenario that maybe drives services that have better quality content to buy lower quality traffic, let's say, or to do very aggressive campaigns. So it would be nice for the carriers to have a balance when they approve the services. There's still, in my view, too much difference in between premium services and services that have poor content.
Yeah, so it's a question of balance, as you're saying, and business models, because we're saying some of those and pressure on those as well to make sure that you get the right mix of between products and product placement. Let's go back to that element of transparency, though, because transparency in ad tech, what can we do about it? What are the initiatives out there, the practices that we can use to get a better quality of communications in the end out there? Thomas, I'll keep your role as the commentator from the outside perspective. So what can people do?
Well, I believe that there is still a lot to do on this topic. MCP has been working on this since the beginning. There is still a lot of traffic that is completely hidden, unknown, and nobody. Most important thing is that nobody's taking responsibility for it. It's a little bit better now, for sure, with Google traffic becoming more and more important, but still a lot, in my view, must be done. And a way to improve this is just, in my view, the communication in between the people in the whole value chain. Sometimes the carriers don't know how the advertising industry works, so they don't put limits or clear rules to avoid that kind of traffic being used in the acquisition. So carriers most of the time do not have any interaction with those who buy traffic, manage traffic with, like, Smadex, for example, or even Google directly. So I believe that the things that we need to focus on is to try to involve more the carriers in trying to teach them how exactly all the user acquisition work.
Kind of get to know your supply chain, try to see over different levels. And Rahima, anything else you would add? There is a nice call of actions. We at MEF love that. Transparency, collaborations, lots of good words, but for you is how do you promote it? How do you make it happen?
Well, for us, there are two ways. But first one, on our side, Smadex is all about transparency. I think it's one of the key words, and we are working towards being more transparent with all parties. And that's what a DSP is for, and especially what we are doing. So providing with more transparency to the clients or the advertisers, understanding where they are buying their ads, in which publisher and which placement their ads are shown. I think it's very important important for them, so they don't have to worry about where their ads are shown. So that's a kind of a keyword for us, and we are working towards that. And then transparency also more related to a collaboration. Here it's going to be with, for example, with Thomas here from MCP. We are collaborating and being more transparent one another. I think that working together is key. Gathering, let's say, a cybersecurity company with the advertiser and the advertiser's the supplier. I think it's very important. All together, sitting down and looking at the issues and challenges. So I think these are two ways we can answer the transparency question.
Good. And let me take a little reminder for all of you. Thanks for joining us today. If you are live right now, you can ask question. Use a question and answer button. Let us know what you think. Let us know what question you have for Thomas and Rahima. But moving kind of sideways, we talked about some of the principles. Let's now look at some of the more specific implementations, because not all the world is the same. Well, there are regional differences out there. There are regional strategies, regional regulations. We'll come to that as well. But if you had to look at the advertising world and identify different development phases regarding how proactive the efforts are for combating fraud, what would you say that the main differences are? And are organizations doing different things in different areas? I'll ask Rahima, because you probably are discussing with some of your customers too.
Sure. Yes, I think that all regions are working towards combating fraud. I truly believe that. So some regions, and more than others, are more advanced, obviously, because they faced challenges back in the days, few years back, and they have worked, I think, now we are talking about, again, collaboration, so between the parties to help to secure and to help DCB grow. So I think that Europe definitely is in more advanced stage, but if you and I hope that you will be checking the white paper, you will see that there are some other regions where unfortunately fraud is still high, but I would say that this can be also linked to the traffic quality. That's what we are seeing on our side. Maybe if, for example, in Europe, we will have around like less than 10%, or even less than that, probably less than 5% affiliation traffic. In other regions, we will see between 10 and 30% still. And unfortunately, that traffic that is blind is a bit, so it's not helping, combating fraud in certain regions. So everybody is fighting. I think all the regions are fighting against fraud. Obviously, MCP and other cybersecurity tools are also helping in different regions. But yeah, there are still differences in between regions, obviously.
And potential differences that we came between the different markets, the different services, the different service lifelines you have, and you can probably talk about the different indexes in here. But Thomas, what would you comment in terms of these regional or any other differences that you find out there?
No, well, I agree with Rahima that for sure Europe is in a better place at the moment. Unfortunately, there are still regions like the Middle East and Asia in Africa a little bit, where the fraud are going up instead of going down. There are, I don't want to generalize, obviously, there are lots of people that are trying to do better, try to protect the user, etc. Probably the most difficult things, again, comes to education. Some carriers know really well how it works, the industry. Some others, they don't know how big the issue can be and how it works. And then sometimes they just believe that they think that Google traffic means zero fraud and zero compliance issue, and it's not. Unfortunately, it's not true. And so it's difficult again when in markets there are maybe some carriers or some aggregators that they apply some protection and some others they don't. And so obviously it's difficult to compete with people that have an anti-fraud solution in place and others that don't. Even if on the long terms, who does have an anti-fraud solution will get better user, etc. That's another very complicated story, but it is true. But at the beginning, if there is this situation where it's not balanced, there's people with the fraud, people without the anti-fraud, and people without, it will become difficult to adjust. So again, it comes with, in my view, with communication and try to balance all the markets in the same way.
Okay. Well, you're hearing them. I think they agree pretty much. I mean, as much as I'm trying to say, and they confirm, it's a complex thing to do it, but there is a direct correlation for what we're saying. Europe seems to be doing better. Middle East and Africa.
It did work in Europe, and it did work also in some country in the Middle East, because I'm not talking about the whole Middle East. There are some countries that are better, some others that, but in general, obviously Europe is the one in the better position. And still, there are countries in Europe that still have some problems, but not comparable to the other regions.
Okay. Well, let's go back at some of the recipes, some of the things you were talking about, and combating and fraud together was one of those recipes you had. So considering the collaborative nature we're talking about, what kind of strategies and partnerships do you think are more effective in safeguarding the advertiser, the consumers from these bad actors? What can you tell our listeners? And starting with Thomas, I guess, we'll keep you on the toes.
Yeah, I can start. Well, surely we are here today discussing the collaboration between us and Smadex. So I believe that a wider collaboration between agency and companies like MCP, not just MCP, there are still too many people who see companies like us as something to avoid or something to be afraid of. People just need to understand that what we want is to help the value chain to create a safe and profitable industry for everybody. Because the only result of not doing this is just that markets will shut down sooner or later. We saw this in the past, and unfortunately, we continue to see it now. So, and the other, the key thing is the communication between the whole value chain, not just us and agencies, etc. Most of the carriers, as I said, are still too far away from what is happening in the user acquisition process. And some of them still believe that whatever is not Google is an issue. But there are, it's a little bit different compared to 20 years ago. Agency some of them have done a lot to just get rid of the bad reputation that they still have, unfortunately, with the carriers. So by bias, they don't want to talk to them, the carriers normally. It's difficult for agency to have, sit down and explain to the carriers how it works and what they should do. Talking about their transparency, they should explain, it would be nice if we can involve more the carrier in discussion like the one that we're having today.
Okay. So you say, but careful on the black and white, because it's not easy to do the black and white thing, but it's also true that there is a lot of people that are not talking to each other yet. So, right, let's name some names. Can I ask that? Who do you think lists some type of industry roles? Who needs to talk more with whom in this collaborative road avoidance scheme?
If you want, I can answer this one. But I think that definitely from our side, talking to the cybersecurity company, I'd say that talking to MCP is very important. So the supplier, so the advertising platform talking with MCP is important. Now, I think that is important also to be educated and educate. So we are all in this, I say that in the group of partners here, we all have our expertise in advertising on the supply, because it's very important for user acquisition, the operator on the other side. So we need to also be educated and get more information. I would say the operator with the content providers and the aggregator, the MCP and cybersecurity companies with supplier. I think all of these people needs to be communicating. And I think that we mentioned once with you, Dario, that we should not forget the advertising platforms and the supply and the discussion, obviously, because we have also a lot to bring to the table, a lot of information as well that can help.
So let's hope today is one of the day when some of the people listening realize that there are more parts in this chain. As I was trying to say at the beginning, this market has developed a lot since we started in the early 2000s. So there are new players, and we need to involve them as well. But talking about something that is there, and it has been there for a bit, regulations. When we probably started math at the time in 2001, there wasn't much of it. And luckily, self-regulation and regulation have come to clear up a bit. But with that, we now have a very dynamic, very fragmented regulatory framework. Many different things. We have data privacy, but we have advertising regulation as well. And in order to ensure that your organization is up to speed with all of that, there's an entire job in there to be done. So Rahima, how does Smadex does that? Because lots of market, lots of campaigns, lots of regulations. How do you put it all together?
Well, we, as a DSP, have been on top of the regulations. I think, well, we are listening to everything that is happening out there, and we are following all the rules in keeping the data private. Starting with GDPR back then, I think this is something also that we care about, and we have been very careful to follow all the regulation. Smadex is obviously not only a DSP that is running campaigns for the VAS or DCB. We are also helping user acquisition and new partners with their user acquisition on mobile apps. So here, I think that Smadex has been also improving the technology to be able to try out Apple Scan, the system. And I think that also in the future, we are looking at, I think we call it Google Privacy Sandbox for the future. So we are preparing as well. So I think keeping alert, and being alert is very important with this subject. Now, regarding regulation, I think that I will not be the one that will be able to answer this, because they are the regulators, of course, in in the industry of us. So yeah, I answered based on Smadex and our DSP.
Sure, and I hope that we at MEF will help you a bit to keep you up to speed. But this is an industry with a lot of changes and very quickly. So we'll come back to you and do read whether the white paper I have. There is plenty happening there in terms of frameworks, in terms of information, and I've seen in the chat. So click on that. Don't leave, but click and save a page for downloading the white paper for later. More questions, but still talking about the dynamics of his industry. Emerging threats, technologies, digital advertising, these are some of those areas where we're seeing a lot of change, a lot of innovations coming. So how do we stay proactive in this market, and I'm still managing to use all the right technologies to maintain brand safety and consumer trust. Are we asking too much? Is it changing too fast, or are there some more suggestions that you have? Thomas, how do you do?
No, it's obviously very exciting, especially for our CTO when it comes to artificial intelligence. Actually, we have been working with this kind of technology kind of since the beginning. We have now approximately 85% of our processes are digitized through AI and automation tools. So we have a dedicated team for this that continuously search for new technology that can help us improve our products. And so, as I said, it's not new to us, AI. We use AI in multiple areas, such as scanning, even compliance auditing, the anti-fraud solution, obviously, and user behavior analysis as well. And our roadmap focuses on further enhancing AI capabilities, optimizing, the existing models, exploring new areas such as, improving feature engineering, behavioral response analysis, and, everything that AI can do, and much more. On the fraud side, obviously, we use new technology, but also fraudsters use new technologies. We have, dedicated team that is coming bigger and bigger. That we just analyze new fraud coming in, because we have new type of fraud coming in on a daily basis, very often, unfortunately. And so we just, in that case, we just analyze, and we use AI as well to analyze the new fraud that are coming in, unfortunately, on a daily basis.
It sounds like it's an arms race. It's growing on both sides. We need to keep up.
Yeah.
Rahima, what can you add to that? Where is Smadex in terms of these emerging threats? How are you dealing with them?
Well, we are also in discussion with the cyber security companies in regards to those threats and how we can help. I think that giving more information also to companies like ours is very important for us to be on top and helping. I think in our case as a DSP and working on the real-time bidding, it's very important to be alert on the request side of things. So as soon as publishers is making a request, to be able to look into that request and be able to say yes or no to the request. Here in this case, it would be, I think, great to be able to get more information at that stage. And I think that it will be helping all parties. And this is a discussion to have, obviously, with cybersecurity companies and see how we can all help each other.
Great. Well, thanks, Rahima. And then quick reminder that I have got more questions, but I might have to stop asking questions and give you some space to ask if you're in the public right now live and join us. So hit the Q&A button if you want to add anything, comment on anything, or ask Thomas and Rahima. But before I do that, my last request to you is, let's summarize a bit. There's a report, download and look at it. But if you have to leave our audience right now with some inspirations on how to fight and create a better and a safer mobile market, what would that be? Let me start with Rahima right now. So, Rahima, what would you tell people they should write into their best proposal?
Well, I think that we mentioned it a bit earlier, but definitely I think it's related to collaboration and communication. Here, like I said, also is related to transparency. I've seen that we are talking about collaboration, obviously, how how we can share more information, I think, is having this webinar, talking during the events, being more open, sharing the challenges between one another. I think that definitely is going to be related to communication here, and that what helped also our clients the past years to be able to communicate, to have someone on the other side that help, but clearly is setting action towards something much better. So yeah, I think listening, communication here, collaborating between all parties. I think one key also collaboration is definitely this one, is the supplier with the anti-fraud company and cyber security companies. Getting more insight. So I think that it will be to summarize, it will be communication and collaboration.
Great. And Thomas, if you have to summarize your suggestion, what would that be? What would people do?
Well, I completely agree with Rahima, and as you said at the beginning, and I really did some meetings with some people that are maybe the most important in the value chain that really have no idea how the business work, and they make decision that creates even the opposite results. So it really comes to me, we all need to work more towards the carriers in terms of educate them on how it works and what are the real threats and the problem of the market. We are trying to do this with Google as well, directly with the carriers, with Smadex as well, directly with the carriers. It's not easy. So in my view, we should try to do this as much as possible.
Well, great. Thanks again for hammering on those principles, on what to do and transparency and so on. Time for me to get somebody else to ask questions, and we have quite a few. So let me go and read them out. First is from Anna Miloševačka. Sorry, apologies if I got your name wrong. Nice comments at the beginning on this is an interesting topic for you. We are glad as MEF, as an industry association that grew looking at direct carrier billing and anti-fraud solution. You're in the right group. Well done. But your question, and a different take, I think, on what we've been discussing so far. Anna says, I personally think fraud cannot be completely avoided or prevented by employing better strategy at the provider side. It is important to limit the legal implication of it and make it legally recognized as a possibility. So we said, fight it legally because it's going to be there. What will be your take, Rahima, and then Thomas?
Well, fighting it legally, I think that in our case, obviously we didn't have to deal with that. So it's going to be hard for me to be able to answer this. We've seen, I think, that there's some content providers having some issues that are more on the legal side of things here. But I think I'll probably let Thomas answer that one. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I understand. I think I understand what she's saying, and it comes to a point that I made probably at the beginning, where it's difficult to identify sometimes who is really responsible for some type of traffic, and obviously, by consequence, some fraudulent activities. Is still, unfortunately, very complicated to understand who is doing what, and that's why, again, as I said, there must be more rules, a little bit about it. So to focus more on really the part where the good traffic is coming from is, in my view, is the only way. It would be impossible just to find who is responsible for something. It was impossible. Now it's a little bit better, but just because some people are putting mandatory some specific type of traffic, But unless everybody do in the same way, it will be difficult to avoid this and to make it legally recognized. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But sharing more information, I think maybe can help. Obviously, being able for the content provider to know at least where the ads have been shown. I think that can help also. We're talking about proofs. I think it's important also when there is a complaint that the content provider gets more information about it, not only getting their service shut down. But I guess that would be the perfect world. So yeah, the legal implication, like also you said, Thomas, is a bit difficult to know. Like nobody wants to take responsibility for it. There's so many people in the middle. So reducing the amount of people, I think that in the middle can also help in this case. I don't know if we are answering the question, exactly that question, Anna. I hope so.
And Anna, do send us a comment or another questions if we are not. And we have another questions before we let you go at least, which is from an anonymous attendee. And I think we need a bit of interpretation here, so help me out. But very interesting, it says, since we are talking about collaboration, is there any clear plan to optimize the sources that have a clear and high fraud rate? So talking about sources of content, I assume, which seems to be, Rahima saying, what you were saying just some of that, potentially is a bit more of information on type of players and sharing of that. Have you heard of, is that happening somewhere? Identify high and low fraud rate for providers?
Yes, of course. I think that you can identify fraud with the help of a cybersecurity company, but you can also identify it yourself. I think in the past, I've worked as well on the affiliation side. The first thing that was done checking the CTR, the conversion rates, and potentially the ones having a high conversion rate, we are going to post them. So, but this doesn't work. I think that at some point, years after the fraudster understand how to do things, and they're able to create some technologies that are able to provide with clicks and conversion at different levels and changing conversion rates so that it doesn't sound like it's fraud. So it's definitely more complicated. So if it's blind traffic, so I would not suggest to go for blind traffic because you will not be able to definitely do this, optimize the sources. So if you want to optimize the sources, but I think that you need to know who they are and where your ads is. So at least you will be able to act on it. And I think in getting deeply into how to fight against it, I think it would be necessary to work with a cybersecurity company because there's things that are more complex behind. Sometimes we can identify something as potentially fraudulent, but when you are discussing this with the company, with the cybersecurity company, you understand that it might not be. And vice versa. It can be also that a cybersecurity company can come to you with an inventory that you don't think it's fraudulent, but they are going to spot something, and you have to be careful about it.
Now, what about you, Thomas? What do you think about name and shame? I think.
I agree with Rahima that is one of the possible solution. I still believe that to control a little bit more of the sources, it would be nice to have, as I said, a situation where everybody is on the same level. What I mean is everybody with an anti-fraud, for example, all the traffic, no exception. There are too many exceptions in a lot of market still, where some people can, some people cannot. And with that, it's difficult, to optimize the sources and to know which are the sources that are sending good traffic. I believe that would be a nice solution to optimize.
And sorry to interrupt. Meanwhile, I just spotted now that there is a a clarification on the comment itself. The anonymous attendee says, "I'm talking about communication between Smadex and MCP, for example. I'm pretty sure MCP can provide fraud rate according to sources, so that Smadex can try to optimize these sources and eventually cut them." Is this something you already do? I see you, Rahima, noting. Is that something that is happening?
Yes, indeed. I think it summarized the way we are working together. Indeed, I think that we work that way. Fortunately, we didn't have many cases where we had to cut sources. But I think that's the communication part that we were talking about earlier. In different cases, we are discussing including the advertiser also in the discussion and trying to help here. Yeah, definitely. Clarifying situations.
Awesome, great. Thanks. Thanks for the comment and clarification. And I see that there probably is it's happening. I think there's a last question. Let me see if I probably might, just before I let you go, I'm gonna make you work, even if we're already the 45 minutes is over. We'll make you work a bit more. From an anonymous attendee says, "Do you think it is realistic to adopt a policy of only buying inventory through tag verified channels? Will adopting this policy have a significant impact?" Would any of you?
If I understand what he's saying, yes, I think it can be realistic to adopt this kind of policy. Unfortunately, it has been done in the past. I'm not 100% sure if I'm right, but it has been done in the past, and it created a big issue. I will not mention the country, but they tried to do that, to adopt a policy of only buying inventory through a verified channel, whatever in that period a verified channel meant, and it was a disaster. So, but obviously that can help us to improve and try again. But I think, yeah, it can be realistic to do that.
Okay, so
if I understood what the question.
there are more recipes that we are saying that we can try out, and there are more history to look back and check if it worked before. Rahima, did you have any comment on these questions before we wrap up?
Nope. Oh, no, I think it was clear.
Perfect. And thanks for the many questions that I see over there. And I think we've done a great job. And I should be saying that between Smadex and MCP, you also have done a great job with the white paper. So to everybody, go and download the white paper. Thanks, however, for Thomas and Rahima for being here and taking us the time to explain and talk about it and taking your questions. So for right now, I would say, from Math, a big thank you to Smadex and to MCP. And
thank you.
I have you both continuing this chat and collaborating in a transparent way, as we heard it, all of you. So thanks again. Thanks, Thomas. Thanks, Rahim.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.